We are our own worst enemies of it. How is it that the Emperor didn't foresee the heresy and try to stop it? The question we all asked at some point. But let's consider that his foresight was greatly diminished the closer he got to the Horus turning on the Imperium. Some blame it on the Chaos Gods trying to hide their plans, or just the myriad of possible outcomes that blocked the Emperor's ability to see the true path. But what if one of the reasons was the being we know as the God Emperor obscuring his vision? A separate entity born from the heresy-era Emperor during the final moments of the Siege of Terra. The warp entity that empowers the saints and fights chaos in 40K. Why? Because it wanted to be born. It had to be born. And it needed some specific conditions during the heresy to emerge so it could protect humanity. As time in the warp works different from real space, such events are possible and do happen in the lore. There are many examples in the lore of warp entities influencing events before they were born. From random demons to a chaos god Slanesh, all show that the warp is no way a linear realm. An interesting example of this is the demon of Ruinstorm, Samus, who is directly connected to the events of the heresy and manifests many times to fight the loyalists. Yet, his moment of birth is after Horus is defeated. He comes into being from a cold act of murder on Gabriel Loken by Erebus. While Loken was making his peace with Abaddon and his former legion. As Erebus explains, it had to be done here and now to ensure Samus is born, which just reaffirms the power of this specific time and place. End and the Dead, Part 3, Fragments. A demon is born in the warp in response to an event here, says Erebus. A death, for example, something especially vindictive and abrupt, something unjust. Perhaps a demon was just born Abaddon. You will come to know it well. It will be the footsteps at your back. It will be the one who walks behind you. It will be the only name you hear. Watch for it. Look out. It's already here. It is also important to note that Samus had the opportunity to kill Loken himself after they had a fight on the Vengeful Spirit, but instead tried to explain the importance of the events happening on Terra. Perhaps he also needed to ensure Loken reaches his death at that very specific moment. In the same book, we have Ahriman explaining the same phenomena. End and the Dead Volume 3, Part 10, Chapter 1. Well then, he says, we are within the warp, and within the warp, there is no linear sequence, no before and after. Effect can prompt cause. Effect can prompt cause. So the God Emperor could, in theory, influence the events to ensure his birth moment. But why this specific moment? Because it was expected that something similar will happen during the Siege of Terra, though not entirely the outcome some hoped for. At the very beginning of The End and the Dead books, we have a monologue by none other than the demon Samus. He dwells on the events before him and how this entire war on Terra itself has so little meaning, that the true potential here is a bird of ruin that would consume the galaxy in war. He is referring to a birth of a new chaos god, the Dark King, a potential fifth god of chaos to eclipse all. So the conditions were exceptional, and we came very close to this happening. Chapter 4. The Split. During the pinnacle of the Siege of Terra, when the Emperor fights through the decks of Vengeful Spirit to face Horus, he makes a critical error that nearly destroys all of humanity. Realizing he might be too weak to face Horus in his current state, he opens himself to the raw power of the warp, and unknowingly starts morphing into a chaos god of ruin himself. A fate that Horus might have believed to be his destiny, or that he already achieved it. Here, we see that events on this scale are capable of creating a new warp entity of immense power. He is stopped at the last moment by one of his oldest friends, Olanius Person, a perpetual even older than the Emperor himself. His appearance at such a crucial moment is not coincidental and gives a moment of pause to the part of the Emperor that is still him. After a lengthy debate, he discards the warp energy transforming him. Yet at the same time, he also removes a crucial part of himself. Perhaps knowing that facing Horus with any shred of empathy will make it harder. He removes from himself all the good that is left, all his compassion and empathy, all of his humanity. And this part of him, part of his soul, travels into a safe place in the warp to gestate and grow into the God Emperor. As witnessed by Malkador, sitting then on the golden throne, the entity is hidden and safe in the warp from the other gods. End and the Dead, Volume 2, Part 8, Chapter 16. My lord and friend has broken off a part of his soul. He has amputated that portion of himself that contains almost all of his hope, loyalty, and compassion. For such a thing would become a hindrance when he faces the Lupercal. And in the hope that one day he will be able to reclaim it and be whole again. That fragile asterism will, as cosmic ages turn, slowly grow by a coalescence of emotion and belief, just as the power of chaos grow. This is one of the most crucial events in the entire 40k setting. We see the Emperor's desperate gamble and the possible birth of the God Emperor. This is the moment that had to happen for it to be born. But to get here and grow from this place, the God Emperor needed one more crucial thing: fate. Fate to fuel his growth and power. Is this a "I planned it all along" moment? I doubt it. But this is the entity that is holding back chaos in 40k, so it might conclude that its birth is the only way to save humanity and influences the events to ensure it. So let's look at some possible influence in the lore. The Golden One, planet Colchis, many years before the Emperor finds his lost son on it. "It is beautiful," said Lorgar, turning his violet eyes to Corfiran. Gold flecks danced in the pupils. "One is coming, one who will be the ending and the beginning." In his visions, he has seen the Golden One, the one that will save all, the golden god of humanity. The ending and the beginning, the end of the Throne Emperor and the beginning of the God Emperor. Or maybe just an interesting foreshadowing for the name of the last 3 books of the Siege of Terra. In this light, Lorgar's fanatical faith was founded on a solid premise. He saw the God Emperor. He just saw him way too early, and thus spun into motion one of the greatest tragedies mankind has ever seen. But perhaps it was not an accident. Maybe the God Emperor did appear in his dreams to make sure he will start the cult that will give rise to faith in him and bring about the rule of religion in the Empire. Chapter 6: Crucial Elements. Later, we see him protecting Euphrati Killer so she can become the first saint and be crucial in spreading the cult of the God Emperor. A cult based on a book written by Lorgar. Killer, technically a standard human, survives encounters with demons, Chaos Space Marines, armed with her faith alone. She performs miracles and is a beacon of hope during the siege. She is also crucial in relighting the Astronomicon and providing the Emperor with a raw psychic power that helps him destroy Horus. Another example is Marcus Valerius, a human commander in the Raven Guard, who had prophetic visions from the God Emperor he worshipped. Visions that helped him save the remaining Raven Guard and their Primarch Corax after the Dropsite Massacre, and later, many times during the battles of the Heresy, ultimately confessing to the source of his visions and being banished for it. Why would he need Corvus Corax to live? Perhaps preparing for the future wars, placing pawns on the board. As far as we know, Corax is the only loyalist Primarch who fully embraces his warp origin and uses its full potential, hunting traitors in the Eye of Terror. Next we have Kai Zulana, an astropath from one of the most controversial books of the Heresy, The Outcast Dead. As this book merits its own video, I will just focus on Kai. During the chaos on Terra, after Magnus the Red tried to warn the Emperor and destroy the Webway project in the process, Kai's astropath teacher receives a vision of the future from an unknown entity. The vision, or let's call it knowledge, that spans the most crucial events leading all the way to the current 40k setting. How the heresy ends, and all the things that follow. Being unable to access these memories himself, Kai is visited in his dreams by a being who might be the Emperor. And over time, it helps him to unlock the knowledge within. Kai is horrified as he learns the Emperor's fate and confronts him about it. "You will die." And the being responds, "I know." Because of this, I believe it was the God Emperor visiting him to make sure the warning does not reach the throned Emperor, as it could change the outcome of the siege. What makes it even more plausible is that after Kai accepts his fate and passes on the knowledge, his eyes spontaneously regrow and he is healed. He was blind for a long time using augmetics, and such a miracle can only be attributed to the God Emperor. The God Emperor and the Emperor we know from the Crusade and Heresy era are separate beings, and one had to be sacrificed for the other to be born.